South Point offers all the types of entertainment you'd expect at a first-class Las Vegas resort. Did you know our 400-seat showroom is one of Las Vegas's top destinations for live entertainment? Enjoy live performances by classic Vegas entertainers, bands, and today's hottest comedians, plus a rock and dance floor. You can also enjoy live entertainment at the Grand View Lounge, where you'll feel all the vibes of old Las Vegas. Enjoy the music, and if you love to laugh, don't miss The Dirty at 12:30, our very own free comedy show, every Friday night at 12:30 a.m. in the Grand View Lounge. The Dirty is 100% free, so arrive early. Go to southpointcasino.com or call the box office at 77136 for today's performances at the showroom and the Grand View Lounge. When you're ready for your favorite cocktail, stop in and unwind at one of our 7 specialty lounges. There's a bar around every corner, because you're in Vegas, baby. South Point Casino has plenty of attractions for the whole family. Catch a movie. Our 16-screen movie theater includes 2 XD Extreme screens for the ultimate in viewing, sound, and luxury. After the show, treat the family to a variety of treats at our old-fashioned ice cream parlor, Kate's Corner. We scoop up a variety of creamy concoctions, including smoothies, hand-dipped cones, milkshakes, malts, sodas, and sundaes. At Kate's, there's something for everyone. And if you've still got time to spare, our bowling center might be right up your alley. Voted Best of Las Vegas, it's a great place for friends and family fun. 64 lanes, a pro shop, snack bar, and arcade. And while the kids are bowling, you can play slots and sip on a drink in the Alley Cat Lounge while overlooking the lanes. For our more serious and professional bowlers, the South Point is also home to a separate tournament bowling plaza.
Good morning. Welcome in. It is Sports by the Book here at the South Point studio on the Sports by the Book channel here on YouTube. I'm Jeff Parles. Kenny White's on the far side. Alex White right smack dab in the middle. Good morning, guys.
Good morning. Easy for you to say, Jeff?
Sometimes. Made it work. Good show for you coming today around 10:40. 10:40, that's 1:40 Pacific, or 1:40 Eastern time, 10:40 Pacific time. Eddie Olczyk, live from Edmonton. He'll be on the call for TNT for the Stanley Cup final. We'll get his thoughts on what he's looking for. Won't get a pick because he's on the series for the television, but he might be able to delve a few things. What values out there, what could happen in the Conn Smythe, and what are the keys to victory for both of those teams. We'll get that with Eddie at 10:40. Trivia questions already live, so check in the bottom line if you want to look at that. Whiteboard's coming early today as well, so be on the lookout as well on a Wednesday.
If I can do like yesterday, then we'll just keep it there forever.
You know what? I won't have a problem with that.
Nice 4-in-1 day.
Yeah, it was a good day. Total's been nice this week. Been good to us here on the show. Well, let's get right to it. Let's start in baseball. There's 2 games already underway. The scorching red-hot Colorado Rockies are going for a sweep in Miami. They're actually already leading 1-0 in Miami. Brewers and Reds, rubber match of that NL Central Series is 0-0 in the bottom of the second. But we began in Washington with a battle of lefties in the nation's capital. Mackenzie Gore goes for the Nats. Cubbies will throw Matthew Boyd. Cubs with a blowout victory and an easy over for us last night in that game. Matthew Boyd's a -135 favorite. Gore's +120, total of 8. Seems like a pretty good price on Mackenzie Gore here. You can get him first 5, -20. So the market has bet Washington to a first 5 favorite. We know how bad the Nat bullpen is. Seems like a fair price on Gore and the Nats, even with that bad bullpen at +120 here today, Alex. But I will likely stay off of that.
Matthew Boyd does make me a little bit nervous. Coming off a really good start with 0 earned runs here. Hold on, I might actually have that mixed up and upside down. But no, he did against Colorado, so not much there. So, but I do think that he'll be able to hold this Nats lineup down. You brought up Mackenzie Gore. He's got 101 strikeouts on the year to just 21 walks. He's been very good as well. I took the under first 5 at 4.5. I think that's a pretty good number. We're getting the half a run there as well. So both lefties on the mound. Now, the only thing that does scare me is the Cubs are third best OPS against lefties, and they don't really strike out, seventh fewest in the league against lefties. But Mackenzie Gore on the other side, I trust him. So under 4.5 for me.
Break up the Cubs. The best record in the National League right now, second best record in Major League Baseball. Those type of things, you have to take an account for. It's, a team temperature and how are they playing? The Cubs are playing. Are they the second best team in baseball? Are they the best team in the National League? No, we know the Dodgers are a better team. And there's a couple other teams that are, the Braves by the end of it, the Phillies by the end of it, and it is who you've played. But they're playing a weak Washington team. This Cub team's playing with a lot of incentive, they're having a lot of fun. And my numbers say it should be $1.46. They got a 3-game winning streak. So I'm going to adjust up and I'm going to back the Cubbies as long as they keep playing well. I'll ride that Cub train. I'm going to play it for the full game because Mackenzie Gore is an outstanding pitcher. He's well above average in my ratings, but that bullpen, as Jeff mentioned, has been very, very weak. Cubs offense is the biggest advantage, I think, in this game.
Number one offense in Major League Baseball, as we've talked about. Cubs with the Mets and the Dodgers just beating each other up in back-to-back extra inning games the last two nights. Mets won on Monday, Dodgers won last night. So the Cubs have taken over that number one overall seed in the NL, which, again, we only have 100 some odd games to go for all these teams, but this is a race that will be important. Getting the bye this year, especially with the quality of the NL, seems even more important than usual. Cubs 38-22 right now. Only Detroit with more wins in Major League Baseball. Tigers did lose to the White Sox last night, but they are 40-22, the best record in baseball. Going to Atlanta next, the Braves, you see on your screen, 27-32, just cannot get out of their own way. Last night, it was Ketel Marte with 2 homers off of Spencer Strider. Corbin Carroll is up to very quietly up to 18 homers now for Corbin Carroll, who, if it wasn't for Shohei Ohtani, I think would have a legitimate argument for NL MVP. Diamondbacks also need to perform a little better for that to happen as well. It's Sale and Kelly tonight, so the Braves do have their stopper and their ace on the bump today. -70 on Chris Sale, +155 on the D-backs. Total of 7 down there at Truist Park here tonight.
It just feels a little bit like deja vu from last year. This Braves team is just not meshing. They're just not playing as a team. That worries me. And Diamondbacks, they need all the wins they can get. They got one yesterday in good fashion against Strider. These two have already seen these pitchers. Sale did pitch very well, went 5 innings, but he did have 7 base runners, just 1 earned run, though, for him in that one. On the other side, Merrill Kelly, he's kind of had to step up because a lot of Diamondbacks pitchers have been struggling, and he did really well, went 6 innings against this Braves lineup, 2 earned runs, and just 4 hits for him in this one. So I'm going to lean to the Diamondbacks, but instead of worrying about the full game, I'm going first 5 plus half. I found even money for that. So half a run, Diamondbacks in the first 5. I expect it to be pretty tight with both of these pitchers going. So maybe tied going into that 6th inning.
Yeah, I don't hate that at all, Alex. I'm big on the Diamondbacks. I think they got an outstanding offense and then a really good group of starting pitchers. Obviously, they need to get Zach Gallen going because he can be a true ace, and they've got a couple guys that you can consider a true ace on that staff. Chris Sale is back. He is Chris Sale. He's been dominating. And at my first look, and I look at this, the way these two pitchers are pitching, I'd love to bet under, but both offenses I got rated well above average in a good hitter's ballpark. Weather's nice in Atlanta. So my numbers really are saying no play on the total because I'm going to adjust it down for the pitching. And the side, yeah, I have a little bit of a lean to the Diamondbacks, but not a play.
Atlanta right now. So Braves from April 18th to May 18th. 29 games, they were 19-10. That was good for the second best record in baseball. Their offense was nearly 5 runs a game. Their team ERA was at 3 1/3, which 3.33, pretty darn good. Going back to May 19th, that started this new streak. They're 3-9. That's good or bad for the third worst record in baseball in that time. Their ERA hasn't been much worse. It's 3.6. Their runs per game is down a whole run. And their OPS is down from 740 to 680. So a really bad struggle. And that's even coupled with Acuna coming back as well for Atlanta. Just, again, can't fall too far back in this NL. That is very, very compact.
That team has way too many hitters, and no one is hitting right now. They will start to hit at one point. Hitting is contagious. And when one guy starts to hit, the next guy starts to hit, it starts to take pressure off of everybody in this lineup. But when you look at this lineup, top to bottom, it is one of the best in baseball. When you got Acuna, Ozuna, Olson, Riley, Albies, Nick Allen at the bottom, Michael Harris, Verdugo I really like as a hitter. You know, Drake Baldwin's the catcher is probably the weakest link, I think, in this lineup, and he's been on a nice little tear. So they're going to hit. And when they do, it's going to be time to jump on them, and it'll be a correlated parlay, and you can jump in on that same game parlay at that time because there'll actually be some value on it, the Braves to the over.
Going to, well, again, these teams expected to be in the playoff hunt right now, currently on the outside looking in. Two teams that are right in the thick of it in the NL West now. Two very low-scoring games back-to-back with the Padres and the Giants, the first two games at Oracle. Both have gone to extra innings. San Diego last night, Machado with a huge hit. Bases loaded, down two strikes, 2 outs in the top of the ninth. Drove in 2, forced extras. Padres go on to win 3-2. The Giants, again, I really did think regression was going to hit. It's hit very quickly for San Francisco. Again, still well in the mix, only a half game behind St. Louis for the final playoff spot in the NL, but got to start hitting again. It's Pivetta and Harrison. Good pitching matchup at Oracle. Total 7. Padres small favorites. I'm going to stay off of this, even though that feels like a really good price on Pivetta, who we have talked about has been San Diego's most consistent starter to begin the year. Probably under 7 is good with the way these offenses going, but that is still a super low total in a game where the wind is blowing out in Oracle. But we have talked about in the past, the wind does not really impact that park because of the way they constructed it.
Rinse and repeat. I expect another low-scoring game here between these two. I do like Pivetta a lot and lean to that side, but made a little bit of adjustment because right now the Padres are 4-0 against this Giants team. I mean, no, they still have 2 more series to play throughout the season, but got to give the Giants a little bit here, trying to avoid this sweep and already down 2 earlier this year. So I like both pitchers. I think we can trust Harrison in this spot. So I do love that under 7. And I also went under 3.5 for the first 5. If we are going to see some runs, I expect it to be later in this game rather than the first 5. So under for me, again, first 5.
Yeah, I'm with you, Alex. I like under for the game and in the first 5. 2 really good pitchers. I don't like either lineup, especially the Padres against lefties. I have both slightly below average lineups, and these 2 pitchers have been lights out. Now, Kyle Harrison doesn't have a lot of innings, small sample size, but I bet AAA baseball for the last 3 years, and I've seen Kyle Harrison, and I had him rated especially high for the Giants organization. So I know what this kid has. He's got great stuff, and he's shown it so far in his first 2 starts. I don't even know if they were starts, but I know he went 4 innings and then 5 innings, and both games were in dominating fashion. Hitters are hitting 189 against him in the last 3 starts or his last 3 outings, and Pivetta, lights out on the years. His median line, 6 innings, 4 hits, 1 run, 1 walk, 6 strikeouts. That's a great game. That's for the entire season and all of his starts this year. So we know what we're going to get out of him, consistency. And I think this is a 1-1 game going to the 6th inning.
Wouldn't shock any of us. Again, both of these teams have not done anything offensively in this series. 2 games, 20 combined innings. Combined score is 4-2. Yeah. There's been no offense in this series so far at Oracle between the Padres and the Giants. All right, let's go to LA next. Back-to-back extra inning games in this series as well. The NLCS rematch from a year ago. Mets took game 1 in 10 innings. Dodgers take game 2 in 10 innings last night. Max Muncy forced the 10th inning with his 2nd homer of the series, and then Freddie Freeman with a walk-off single, double. I guess technically it was a single, even though it would have been a double in any other circumstance. It's Gonsolin and Canning, minus 45 on Gonsolin, plus 130 on Canning, total 9.5. This is a pretty significant pitching advantage for the Mets, at least in the way of the starter for what we've seen this year. Again, Canning is coming off his worst start of the year. He got pretty well shelled by the White Sox last week. Expect a little bit of a bounce back, but it is, of course, the Dodger lineup, which gives me a little bit of pause. These totals, Alex, we talked about it yesterday, have come higher in this series. Yesterday, you needed extra innings in order to get there. If it landed 9, you would have been a SOL on that. But I would only be a lean to the Mets at plus 130. The only concern that I have in this series, now that we've had back-to-back extra inning games, both of these bullpens are messed up because they've been high usage in the bullpens. Dodgers have done a little bit better job because Kasparian pitched 2 1/3 last night to save the Dodger pen last night for usage for back-to-back days. Mets still had to use Brazoban, Buto, and Garrett back-to-back days. So a little bit of a bullpen rest advantage to the Dodgers, even though Tanner Scott will likely be unavailable tonight for them.
Finally did get an over. I lean that way again here with these two going. Now, both of these lineups have seen these pitchers, and it wasn't that long ago, May 23rd and then May 24th. I do worry about Canning against the Dodgers as well. He did give up 3 earned runs, 1 strikeout and 4 walks in that start for him. And you're right, Tony Gonsolin, I don't think we have enough for him just yet. Just 31 innings pitched, 32 strikeouts to 15 walks, though. So just a 2-to-1 ratio is not great for him. So, I mean, both these lineups and these pitchers going, it would have to be a lean to the over, but I don't love betting over that 9.5.
Yeah, it's a big number. Hitting's hard. I know that's the hardest thing to do in all sports is hitting a baseball. So that's why I like to lean to unders. But in this spot in this game, the bullpens have been taxed. They have a lot of injuries as well. The Dodgers bullpen has been beat up. A lot of guys on the injured list. And they got some starters. This Dodger rotation would be amazing when they get some guys back. Snell is one of those guys that they need to get him back. I'm not sure. I mean, he could be out for the year for all I know, but I know he's not in the rotation. But I know there's several guys in the bullpen out. And the lineups are still extremely solid on both sides. Check the weather. If it's over 70 degrees, it's going to help. The ball will carry a little bit better once it gets into the 60s. Doesn't carry as well, but it hasn't really mattered for these Dodgers. These Dodger teams are averaging more runs no matter, it could be 40 degrees in LA and the ball doesn't carry. They still put up runs. They're just so good. So I'm going to go under here. You mentioned the walk to strikeout ratio for Gonsolin. Canning's 25 walks to 50 strikeouts. He's a 2-to-1 ratio. He's another guy. There's going to be guys on base. Both guys whips on the season over 1.4. That's a recipe for failure against good offensive teams. So I'm going to look for maybe an in game here. If it starts, if the Mets don't score in the top of the first, maybe I can get over 9.
Canning's last 3 starts has really blown up those numbers. Just a lot of base runners, as you mentioned. 8 in 5 1/3 against the Yankees, 5 in 2 2/3 against the Dodgers, and an 8 in 3 innings against the White Sox. It's been a little bit of a tough go for Canning those last 3 times out. All right, let's go to Boston next. Angels and Red Sox, Giolito and Soriano, day baseball at Fenway. Nothing better than that. -40 on the Sox, +125 on the Angels. Alex, as we've talked about, the Red Sox just can't get out of their own way as they're looking to avoid the sweep at home against Anaheim.
Yeah, and I think the Angels are pretty fortunate to get both of these wins coming into this one. I wish it was anybody else but Giolito on the mound for the Red Sox so I could back them here, but he does make me nervous. And then Soriano's been better on the road. I mean, he had 1 bad start against the Athletics in Sacramento. Can't really take too much from that, but his 2 road starts before that in Cleveland and Chicago against the White Sox, 0 earned runs for him, went 6 and 7 innings in those 2. So I do think he could pitch well here. I mean, he even shut out the Padres in Petco. So it's tough because, like you said, day baseball at this park. So I don't want to go under that 10.5. I think there's a reason for it. So this was a pretty quick pass for me.
Kenny, you like the weather report at Fenway today?
Yeah, I did this game yesterday, and I was supposed to bet it overnight, and I forgot. I've had so much going on that I forgot it. But yeah, what am I looking at? Southwest winds 12 to 15 miles an hour, 80-some degrees. Winds blowing straight out to center.
Yeah.
Giolito is he's a journeyman now. He's coming back from injury, not pitching the last couple of years. He has not looked like the same guy. Right now, he's an average big league pitcher. Soriano's got electric stuff, but he has no idea where it's going. 34 walks in 68 innings. He's going to have base runners everywhere. He's got a 1.51 whip. These guys are giving runs up today in this game, so I'm going over. I don't mind the total went up from 9.5 to 10.5. I like going over. I don't mind going over 10.5 because I feel like it's a 5-5 tie. I only need 10 runs to get me to go over that total.
10.5 right now on the total. Again, that is just ideal hitting weather at Fenway. Very rarely gets to 90, almost 90 degrees in Boston at any time of the year. So to see it on June 4th is a little bit startling, to say the very least. All right, let's go down I-95. Let's go to New York. Yankees and Guardians. Yanks took game 1 last night behind a really good performance from Carlos Rodon. Again, he has really been stellar over the last few weeks. Clark Schmidt against Ortiz here today. Yankees $1.90. Total of 9 in this one in the Bronx, Alex.
Another one where we do have they've already seen each other. So looking at Ortiz, he did get hit up pretty well by this Yankees. Only went 4 1/3, 4 earned runs on 5 hits, did walk 5 guys, had 8 strikeouts in that one. And looking at Clark Schmidt, he also gave up some runs in Cleveland, 5 earned runs on 7 hits in 4 innings. So another one I would lean a little bit to the over here. What are we at right now? 9.5 for this one?
We're at 9 right
9.
now. Yeah, you can get 9s on this.
Yeah, another one I didn't jump in. Kind of looking more for first 5, so this one was not on my radar.
Yeah, I think if you would, if you were going to bet it over, you'd have to look first 5 because I love both these bullpens. I don't like the Guardians' offense, and haven't. I don't want to lay this price. I made it $2. The Yankees minus $2 in this spot. Ortiz, I haven't rated that. I have him below average, a below average big league pitcher right now. I don't have notes in front of me, but what I'm looking at stats wise, he looks like he's got some explosive pitches because he struck out more than a guy an inning this year, but he's walked 30 guys. So he's walking a guy every other inning. His median start 5 1/3, 5 hits, 2 runs, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts. Not bad. But not great. And Clark Schmidt's kind of in the same boat. He's going to go 5 2/3 and give up 2.5. So I think this is a 3-3 game at the end of 5 or a 3-2 game after 5. So it's going to be pretty close to the total, but I'd lean to the over for the game. I don't know. I would pass. I'm going to pass on the side as well because obviously I don't want to lay this high a price.
Let's go to Tampa next. Rays got the first one last night, 5-1 against the Rangers. Laz Diaz also made the worst called strike call of the year, which if you have not seen that, go ahead and find it on the internet. Kumar Rocker, Shane Baz, your pitching matchup at Steinbrenner Field tonight. Yanks minus 125, plus 110 on Texas. Total of 8.5 here, Kenny.
Yeah, again, a good hitter's park. I thought it was going to be a little warmer there tonight, but it's 79 degrees, so I'm not going to add anything to this total. I did make Texas the favorite, waiting for this team to come around offensively, and I have them the favorite in this game. I think more than anything that they're just slightly better than the Rays are at everything, I think, across the board. Maybe bullpen, the Rays got a slight advantage there, but Rangers are a better offensive team, better defensive team, and I think Rocker is a slightly better pitcher than Boz, at least what I've seen out of Boz so far. Now, Rocker hasn't gotten off to a good start, and I think he was sent to AAA to get some time in, and now he's back. But talent-wise, I think Rocker has far more potential than Boz does in the long run. So I'm at pick. I lean to the Rangers, but not enough value for me to play it, Jeff.
So we got there with the under, even though it was in Tampa Bay yesterday. This one I'm definitely leaning to the over. I don't trust the Rangers offensively, though, and I think we're almost time for our do factor here for pitchers and offenses to look for in games. But it does tell me something that the Rangers are 3.5 juice to the over for their team total, and the Rays are 4.5, even though we're sitting here at 8.5. So if anything, I would just look for Tampa Bay. I wish I did have more numbers here on Rocker, just 20 innings pitched for him, but he's definitely giving up runs, and I think the Rays can keep swinging the bat. So it would be over 4.5 for me at a plus 110 price.
Moving along to the next one up, we go to Chicago again. White Sox took game 2 of this series yesterday in blowout fashion. It'll be Burke and Gibson Long here today. Tigers look to bounce back. They're $2 favorites, plus 180 on the Sox at home. Total of 8.5 in this one, Alex.
I did take a little bit of the White Sox yesterday. Round robin with them, the Orioles and the Rangers. And the Rangers failed me for my dog round robin there. But looking at this one here today, we talked about Sawyer Gibson Long potentially getting the start yesterday. He did not. He will go today in his rehab. No walks, 5 1/3 innings, 1 earned run, and just 1 hit for him. So I do expect him to pitch well here against this White Sox lineup. Burke on the other side has been pretty good. I guess it would be a lean to the under in the first 5, but I've got some other ones I like more. So pass for me on this one.
I wanted to give you a quick update on Kumar Rocker. He was sent down to AAA. 1 start, 3 innings, 2 hits, no runs. The next start, 4 innings, no hits, no runs, 1 walk, 5 strikeouts. So looks like he got his thing straightened out. And obviously it's kind of like, yeah, you did well against the JV. Can you do that against the varsity? And that's, the question tonight on that. But I do lean to Rocker. And if he pitches like that, like he pitched in the last 2 AAA games, I definitely would be on that team tonight. And even though they haven't been hitting, I still think they're the better offensive team. Sawyer Gibson Long, long-time minor league veteran, been around for a while, 6th-round pick, average big league stuff out of him, and he's had 5 starts this year. He has pitched well. Walk to strikeout ratios been excellent this year. So a great job out of him. We'll see if he can. That's his minor league stuff. 5 innings, yeah. five AAA games he started. Looks like he may have kind of been an opener, 16 1/3 innings. But he's had really good command. I guess this is, this isn't his major league debut. He pitched in 2023 and had 4 starts then. 94-mile-an-hour fastball. I got him rated average in this spot, in this ballpark against the White Sox. Maybe he fares well. He's been there before, getting another opportunity. I like when guys get another opportunity. So I made the Tigers 210, 8.5. I could maybe look at Tigers -0.5 in the first 5 innings. And maybe it's even, if you're going to bet the game, I guess you should bet full game, Jeff, because the White Sox bullpen is so bad. So take advantage of how Burke has pitched lately, and the bullpen has been so bad. So I would go Tigers 1.5 here.
615 days since the last time Gibson Long appeared in the majors. Tommy John surgery and hip surgery in that span beforehand. So been almost 2 full years since he's been on a major league mound. All right, we go to Seattle next. Orioles, what a performance by Sugano last night. He was great. George Kirby also left the game with an injury after taking a ground ball off his face last night. So not good in the Seattle. And again, we've talked about it with Seattle. Their offense just continues to not hit at a level that they need to be hitting at. It'll be Hancock and Povich. -110 on the Mariners, -105 on the O's. Total of 8 in this one, Alex.
I like the Mariners in this spot. I'm trying to decide full game or maybe just the first 5, but they definitely have the bullpen advantage here, especially coming off that loss. George Kirby did look better too in that start, so hopefully it's nothing serious getting hit in the face there. But yeah, I think this number is pretty cheap on the Mariners, people backing the O's because they have been hitting better and the Mariners have been struggling a little bit, but pitching, I think we're pretty much dead even. So I'll take the home team here at a very cheap price.
I'd really like to make a case for the over the way these 2 guys have pitched this year, but Emerson Hancock has pitched a little better over his last 3 starts, and with that Seattle lineup struggling a little bit, it's hard to. I'm going to, more than anything, fade Cade Povich. Just he's really struggling. I think the Mariners are better offensively versus a lefty than they are against a righty. So give me the short price with Seattle here in this one. Could just continue to kind of bet against the Orioles until they figure it out.
Pricing is bizarre in this game, isn't it? I know the Mariners aren't hitting, but Povich is, other than those 2 starts where he pitched well, he's been dreadful for this year. He didn't pitch well his last time out against St. Louis. 5 earned in less than 5 innings. Did strike out a lot, but he gave up 5 earned. I'm perplexed by this price. I know Hancock has been a below average starter this year, but he has been better his last 3 times out. Seattle's got the better bullpen. Games at home. Seattle minus 110 seems pretty darn good here.
I know. Is this a spot where you want to stay away that we don't know something? Because the books opened it, like we're saying, right? They were about minus 130 on the home team here. Just been
If the books knew something, they wouldn't be there. They'd be on the other side of the counter. I'm sorry to say.
No, I'm saying the books. No, that's what I'm saying. So we shouldn't bet it. If all the steam is going on the other side, then that's a stay away because whoever's betting the Orioles knows something we don't know.
Well, the Orioles, what were they expected to do at the beginning of the year? They're expected to compete for the division, and they've just played really poorly. And I don't know. Let me check.
They've won 4 in a row. This could be a streak bet too. Yeah,
there we go.
That's playing a streak. They've won 7 of their last 10, and that's because of the 4-game winning streak. They're still 89 runs below what their opponents scored in this spot. But I guess I didn't look at that. But the 4-game winning streak, I'd have to make an adjustment on my number as well, and then calculate it in avoiding the sweep. So it's 5 cents. It's still a play. Well, it's not a play for me. It's 20 cents off is 123. Well, 148. Yeah, it's still a play for me.
Yeah.
Adding in, Seattle's trying to avoid the sweep. So I think more than anything, it's bettors that are betting the sweep here or betting the winning streak here, the 4-game winning streak here.
Let's go to Sacramento next. Another over last night. Wind blowing out and it was hot. It's 85 degrees with 10-mile-an-hour winds out in Sacramento at Sutter House Park. Again, for the Twins and the A's, it's Matthews and Springs. Twins have taken the first 2. They're minus 90 today. Total's 10. I'm going back to the well for yet another time. If we don't get there, we don't get there. When this ballpark, when it is hot, and it's only going to get hotter in Sacramento, I don't think that city, people realize how hot it can get when we get into the heat of the summer in Sacramento. And if the wind's blowing out, got to treat this like Coors Field. And that's what I'm doing. Like I said yesterday, we'll do it again for the 3rd straight game in this series. I'll take over 10, Alex.
Man, the pitchers have been all over the place because I thought Jacob Lopez he didn't go yesterday. I thought he was going today. You had Sean Newcomb, and it is Jeffrey Springs, the lefty. So with that, I kind of lean to that plus price here with the Athletics, but I don't want to bet on for that 8-game losing streak to end here. So I'm just going to pass on this one.
Yeah, I agree with Jeff. The weather, the way it is, warm. It's warm there, and that's the ball carries. And with the wind blowing out, a lot of confidence for the hitters. Minnesota's, they've got their guys back in the lineup now. A couple guys were out, but Buxton was out for a while, but he's been back and he's been swinging it. So I agree, Jeff. I think that we can see a lot more offense once again tonight in West Sacramento.
West Sacramento for, again, all these A's games over the next 3 seasons. Total 10 going over in this one. All right, let's go to...
the Athletics are 4.5 plus 105.
What are the Twins?
The Twins are 5.5.
What's the juice?
Flat.
I think the 5.5 still pretty good on Minnesota, too. Twins are very good. Well, after that win streak, because the Twins obviously won 12 in a row earlier this year, they've been able to maintain. They're still second place in the division right now. They would actually be the number 1 wild card in the American League if the playoffs started today after 60 games. So Minnesota really, really high-end stabilization when it looked like they were heading towards another mediocre season after last year's collapse in September. All right, we go to Pittsburgh next. Gusto and Burrows, your pitching matchup at PNC. Last night, Paul Skeens, another dominant performance, but his offense was El Stinko again. 3-0 Astros win. The Skeens start, so a good plus number if you got it on McCullers and company. Today, Gusto's minus 25, plus 10 on Burrows. Total 9 at PNC here this early evening, Alex.
I want to back the Pirates getting the plus money, but I just don't know enough about Burrows going. So I'm going to wait, see how this game goes tomorrow, and see if I can get a good price on the Pirates tomorrow. Probably Keller going.
Yeah, it's 2 pitchers that are really kind of unknown guys. Gusto, a former 11th round draft pick that's been in the Astro organization his entire life, and 13 appearances this year, seven starts. Command's not there, walking 4.4 per 9 innings. He's a below average big league pitcher. Same thing with Burrows, right now in this point in his career. So I would look maybe to an over here in this game. What scares me is Pittsburgh's offense, as Jeff said. You got to feel for a guy like Paul Skeens. He's pitching his heart out, and he's pitching, as I mentioned earlier this year. Last year he came in like throwing. So you got two really well below offenses right now. I would just, it's kind of a stay away from me. Too much uncertainty.
Skeens is getting DeGrommed right now. He's under 500 on his record. He's been arguably the best pitcher in baseball, period, this year. And again, this is what happens with the Pirates, who genuinely did nothing this offseason to improve their offense and went in with a pathetic-looking offense to begin with. And it has been every bit as pathetic as we would have thought going into the year. And you feel for that pitching. That pitching has been mostly good on top of Skeens in Pittsburgh this year. And they have the second worst record in the NL because the Rockies are historically awful. All right, we'll go to Toronto next. Phillies bombarded the Jays last night, and they did it early and often, so that was a easy coasty win for us yesterday. It'll be Abel and Berrios here tonight at Rogers Center. Phillies small favorite, -15, even on the Jays. Total of 9 in this one north of the border.
Do you want to start off with Abel here? I know he was great in his debut.
He's a former first rounder, big time prospect out of high school for the Phillies. And he really, that's, what you get sometimes with these kind of guys in their first start. So yeah, I'm expecting a complete drop off for Abel, kind of, coming back to the mean, reverting back to the mean, as I should say. First major league starts, I've talked about it a lot on the show. These guys really just don't think about it. They go out there, they play, and they have fun. And then all of a sudden now they get celebrated for 4 or 5 days, and they got to go try to do it again. And this time on the road. So I'm going to fade him. Look for Berrios to pitch well at home like he has, and go Blue Jays.
No problem with that. Backing this Blue Jays offense, who's been one of the hottest in the league. 330 batting average in their last 7, 408 OBP, and 184 WRC plus. So just wanted confirmation there, but I do like the Blue Jays as a dog today at home.
Abel, a high-end prospect, of course, for Philly, their best pitching prospect. Like we said, pitched well in his first start. As always with Berrios, it's the gopher balls. That's the only concern that I have. Actually, they lean to the over, but I'm going to stay out. Wish it was 8.5 instead of 9 north of the border. Last one on the board. We go to St. Louis I-70 series. Royals and Cardinals played a wild game yesterday at Busch. Kansas City with 6 in the 5th, answering St. Louis's 5 in the 3rd, and a 10-7 victory for the members of Western Missouri. KC throwing Cameron here tonight. Miles Michaelis will go for St. Louis. Cards at home, -125, total of 8 at Busch Stadium tonight.
I like this under. I like the full game under, but I like the first 5 even more. Taking a run or two off for both of or half a run to a run off for both of these pitchers. So full game should be closer to 6.5. So under for the first 5 innings for me, 4.5. Great number.
Noah Cameron has been really good for the Royals. 25-year-old. It was drafted out of Central Arkansas by Kansas City. They kind of found this kid. He has been lucky. Obviously his ERA is 1.05. Nobody's going to, keep up with that, especially when your strikeout ratio is 2-1. He's got from the left side, really good movement, a couple of good pitches. He's different. Guys haven't seen him before, but I think the more tape you get on him, the more he's going to start to get hit. So scares me a little bit, but when you look at his games, man, every single game, he looks like if it was horse racing, he'd be the favorite in the Kentucky Derby when you're looking at his game line. 6 innings, 1 run every single game. But if you'll look, you'll see the hits. 1 hit allowed his first start, 2 hits allowed the second start, 4 hits the third, and then 6 hits his last start. And that telling tale sign, 8 walks, 16 strikeouts. To me, reverting back to the mean, Noah Cameron is going to get hit hard here sooner or later. I like Michaelis a lot. I might make a case here for St. Louis just because that fact. I think Cameron's going to get hit sooner or later.
I would look to St. Louis also. I'm with you. I think you mentioned it, Kenny. Just a little bit of luck for Cameron so far this year. I mean, he still pitched great, but the beyond the under the hood numbers make it seem like it's okay. Probably an extra run, 2 each start. And that was a really weird game yesterday in St. Louis where the Cardinals pitching just totally blew up yesterday. Oh boy, again, I don't love backing Michaelis, but Michaelis has pitched really well over the last 6 weeks. So it would be only a look to St. Louis to get this to a rubber match tomorrow afternoon in St. Louis for the I-70 series. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we get back, the whiteboards will pop up. We'll also have the trivia answer because that trivia question has been rattling around in the bottom third, or not even the bottom third, the bottom of the screen. And also we'll see Eddie Olczyk in a little bit here on the show, Sports by the Book, South Point Studio.
We have 11 amazing restaurants featuring a wide variety for every price range and appetite. South Point's Garden Buffet has something for everyone at unbeatable prices. Or if hunger strikes in the middle of the night, join us at Coronado Cafe. The American menu offers breakfast, lunch, or dinner 24 hours a day, plus a Chinese kitchen for authentic Chinese dishes from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. From steak and eggs to wonton soup, it's fast and friendly service 24/7. When you need a quick pick-me-up, you can find it at our state-of-the-art Starbucks just inside the main South Point entrance. Order ahead with the Starbucks app for easy mobile order pickups. Or enjoy your favorites in the relaxing dining area anytime, day or night. If you love Mexican food, Baja Miguel's has all of your south of the border favorites. There are dozens of classics to choose from, like fajitas, ceviche, chimichangas, tacos, and more. And for spirit lovers, Baja's colorful non-smoking tequila bar is right outside.
Football contest sign-up season is here, and you don't want to miss out on the action. With millions of dollars on the line each and every week in the world's biggest football contest, there's only one proxy to trust, footballcontest.com. Maddie and Tony have set the gold standard for football contest proxy services with 20 years of experience and over 13 million in winnings for their clients. All you have to do is get to Vegas between now and the start of football season to sign up in person, and they do the rest, making sure your picks are entered every week. Whether you want to play in the Circa Sports Million, Circa Survivor, Super Contest Gold, or the new Super Contest College Contest, Maddie and Tony have you covered. Their new website has everything you need to know about these football contests and more, including how you can reserve the best proxy in the business. Experience matters, so go with the pros at footballcontest.com, the gold standard proxy service.
Welcome back in Sports by the Book, South Point Studio. Jeff Parles, Alex White, Kenny White. We'll have Eddie Olczyk in about 5 to 10 minutes from now, so stay tuned. Whiteboard's coming in a few moments, but first, we got to give our thoughts on the hockey game tonight, right? We haven't given our full predictions for the Stanley Cup Final. Florida and Edmonton 2.0. Of course, the Panthers won it in 7 a year ago with home ice. This go around, home ice north of the border in Edmonton for this series. So this will be the third time we've seen back-to-back Stanley Cup finals between the same two teams outside of the original 6 era.
Right.
So the first time that happened was in the 80s, the Islanders and the Oilers, back-to-back years. Islanders, of course, won their 4th consecutive cup in the first matchup, and then the Oilers won their first cup the following year. The next one was Detroit and Pittsburgh, 07-08. Red Wings won the first year. Sidney Crosby and company won their first cup as a unit. that second year. So does history repeat itself? Do we see Edmonton win the first cup for Canada since 1993 and continue that trend of rematches with the opposite team winning? Or does Florida go back-to-back here? Edmonton's minus 30. Florida's plus 110 in the series. Tonight, Edmonton's minus 115. Florida's minus 105. Kenny, total 6. I think we know what you're doing with the Edmonton home game trend of over, which what it's been, except for one game this postseason.
That was it, the one game. The fast ice and a lot of scorers on both teams. Both regular season games this year went flying over. Even in Florida, it went flying over. Looking at last year's Stanley Cup, game 1 and game 2 were in Florida. Both under games, 3-0, 4-1. They make the transition to Edmonton. 4-3 Florida. 8-1 Edmonton. Now game 6, it was 5-1 Edmonton. But you got at least 6 goals in the last 5 times these two teams have played in this arena. So I'm going over again, Jeff.
And our number says over. Not huge value there, but it definitely is higher than that minus 120, closer to 135. So 15-cent difference there for over 6. I like it as well. And it's tough doing this series. It's pretty much a pick 'em for me with these two teams. And I know how good Florida is, but when you have a generational player like McDavid, I do think that history can repeat itself and he can get it done like Gretzky and Sidney Crosby did. I mean, he is about to be in the top 40 for playoff points in about half as many games as the guys that are right above him. So it's pretty wild. And this Oilers team, they're deeper, they're better than last year, and I think they're on a mission here.
This is, well, you just mentioned it. They're deeper. They are deeper. They can go better into 4 lines, better, even without Hyman. They have better depth than they had a year ago. You could also argue Florida has better depth, as crazy as that may seem.
You can.
With that trade for Marchand, just giving another winning player to the mix in Florida. What a series this should be.
Yeah.
The only thing that would surprise me is if it is a short series. Now, of course, Florida was up 3-0 last year, and it somehow got to 7 games before Florida won Game 7 to win their first cup. I wish Edmonton, like the pricing was closer to pick, or even Florida was favored in this series. I would be on Edmonton. There's the exact results from the South Point, and obviously Chris and company agree with me. Just look at those prices all the way through, that this is expected to be a longer series. But I like Edmonton. I'm taking Edmonton in 7. I think this goes the distance yet again. But the whole X factor of this series, as we've talked about, Alex, who is it?
It's Skinner.
It's Stu Skinner. That's all it is.
Yeah.
What version of Skinner are we getting? Are we getting the Skinner that we saw throughout the majority of this postseason that has led Edmonton to being arguably the best defense in this postseason since he's come back after Pickard got hurt in the Vegas series? Or are we going to see the guy who's needed to be benched at multiple occasions in his career in the postseason?
Man, but really when you think about what this Oilers team has done, and you did talk about it the other day, how tough it was to get to this point, but they made it look easy. I mean, they saw some of the best goalies in the league already. They made Ottinger look pretty average and get pulled a couple times, Aiden Hill. So, I mean, we'll see. We'll see if Bobrovsky can, if he has some holes there, which we did see in game, 4, 5, and 6 last year. So I think the longer this series goes, the more it favors the Panthers. I think the Oilers got to get it done pretty quick. And I think that's why you're seeing a slightly lower price there on Edmonton in 5 at plus 550. I think they got to get it done quick.
Edmonton's got to come out at home here ready to play. Florida, as bad a year as they had on the road, 8-2 in the playoffs. When the competition stepped up, their talent stepped up. They beat Tampa. They lost 2 at Toronto, but they swept Carolina at Carolina. Or won 3. They won 3-0 at Carolina. So 8-2 in the playoffs on the road. This Florida team's just playing really well. Edmonton, this Game 1, they must take Game 1. If you like the Panthers, I would wait after Game 1 and then back them in Game 2.
I agree with that, Kenny. If Edmonton loses Game 1, that's the way we could get a shorter series than expected. If Edmonton blows Game 1, Florida's up 1-0 already. Again, we saw in that last series against Carolina that Florida won all 3 road games. They won all 3 road games in Raleigh. They won Game 7 in Toronto. They won Game 5 in Toronto. They've won 5 straight road games in this postseason. But hey, look, when you have championship pedigree like this Florida team does, boy, I'm excited for this series. Look, I know the NBA series will be fun, but I expect it to be short. This series is going to be awesome. And if it's a short series, then you know what? That one of these two teams just showed out in a fashion that even I don't think anyone foresee coming. Again, 15-1 on either of these teams to sweep. Florida's plus 650 to win in 5. Edmonton's plus 550 to win in 5. And then the rest of the odds on the board are plus 450 for those exact results.
I will just say, talking about this is the third rematch in the last 41 years. First time the Oilers won in 5, and then the Penguins won in 6. So I don't know. It could be quicker than we think, but we'll see. I mean, either side I really think could get hot and get it done.
You might want to take the Florida to sweep 15-1 and bet Edmonton in game 1. If Florida wins game 1, this series could be over quickly.
It could be a quick one.
Yeah.
Could be. But again, it all depends on what version of Skinner we get.
That's the other thing we have not talked about is Florida is going for back-to-back, which we've actually seen quite a few times, but only twice now in the 2000s, which was the Pittsburgh team with Crosby and then Tampa Bay, of course. So they're going for something big here too. It is
hard. After losing the Stanley Cup, I love the next season playing the loser against the team that beat them. And I did it twice with Edmonton. I lost both times. Florida beat them in the regular season both times. So, you asked me if there's revenge factor in this game, and I wasn't thinking about that, but I think there is a little bit, and I think Edmonton has to win game 1. They have to. If it's not, it's going to be a short series. So, I think kind of an insurance policy for me. I'm going to bet Edmonton in game 1 and then take Florida to win in 5 or in 4.
Big prices on that if you want to take Florida in a short series, 15-1 in a sweep, plus 650 in 5. All right. We look at the trivia question real quick, and it was a golf one. On this date, the first Ryder Cup was awarded. Team USA beat Team United Kingdom in 1927. Which country club was it at? And it was in Massachusetts. It was at the Worcester Country Club. Hosted the first ever edition of the Ryder Cup, which used to be in the spring and the summer before it permanently moved to late September, it is now, of course, this year at Bethpage in New York. There's Team USA winning on June 4th, 1927, almost 100 years ago, 98 years ago today. The first Ryder Cup was awarded, and JR got the win. So his first win in June after Nick went 2 for 2. Also, JR apparently put his own trivia question in the chat. We do not sanction outside trivia questions here at Sports by the Book.
It's so funny. What came to my head when you said 1927, I thought of the 27 Yankees.
Oh, well, that's a good place to start.
And Babe Ruth, and then I was thinking I was going to say Babe Ruth was there, and then you said Massachusetts. I thought, oh my gosh, he might have been there unless the Yankees had a game that day.
It varies. Well, Curse of the Bambino was well and live at that point, Kenny. So that was in the early stages of it, less than 10 years in. All right, we'll go to whiteboards here on a Wednesday. Eddie Olczyk will join us shortly, but we'll get our plays of the day out here, and we will begin with Kenny White here on a Wednesday.
Go to the NHL game tonight. The play for me is over. I made my case earlier with these two offenses and the fast ice there in Edmonton. Get up and down. Love the scoring here in this game. And these two teams have shown that against each other in this arena to be able to put up goals. Major League Baseball, Giants, Padres, love the game under 7. If you can find a 7.5 and lay $1.30 or less, there's definite value there. Mariners minus a dime tonight at home. Twins and A's over the 10 in Sacramento. Wind blowing out and it's warm. And then the Blue Jays plus a dime tonight. I'm fading the former first rounder Abel tonight. Think he has a huge letdown after a great Major League opening day debut.
Wow, we actually have a lot of similarities here. I'm going Padres Giants, just first 5 under at 3.5. You are getting even money there. I do like the full game as well. I'm also going with the Royals and the Cardinals, going under for their first 5. It's 4.5. Total is 8, so I think that's a great number there. I do trust Michaelis and Noah Cameron. And if he does start to fall off, I hope it's not in this game just yet. Also taking the Blue Jays as a dog at home against the Phillies, one of the hottest lineups right now in baseball. Mariners as well, -110. I think that number is off against the Oilers. And then I'm going Athletics, team total over 4.5. Do agree with both of you guys that game should go over, but I trust Jeffrey Springs better than ZB Matthews. So there we go.
Riding it until it stops in West Sacramento with good hitters weather. That is again on it for the third consecutive day for me on the A's and their Twins over 10. I actually might play both team totals over as well. I at least give me a little bit of an out as well. Even though both of those wins were going 3-0 on the game, obviously with that. And I'll just throw this out there real quick on the hockey game tonight. Like we said. All these games in Edmonton have gone over except for one this postseason. If Edmonton, it really feels like a Skinner performance of, even if it's like, hey, 3 goals on 25 shots, something in that pocket.
Yeah.
Good enough to make sure that we don't get a game 1 in Dallas. He recovered great in that series against the Stars, but this is a different animal against this defending Stanley Cup champions and a Florida Panther team that had a bad stretch at the end of the regular season and then just found themselves once fully healthy again in the postseason. And also, by the way, I'm taking Edmonton at 7. That's my official play for the Stanley Cup final. And I'm going to sprinkle some pizza money.
What do you got there?
Plus 450 is the money on the official, but a little pizza money on Stuart Skinner to win the Conn Smythe at 50-1. If he has a high-end series, there is a legitimate argument. McDavid won it last year. I'm curious. There shouldn't be voter fatigue, but hey, crazier things have happened. 50-1 is too good of a price on a goaltender that has been playing at an obscenely high level the last 2 series. But I know, as always, Conn Smythe is a full playoff award, as you have to keep that in mind when you're handicapping it. Kenny, thank you as always.
Thanks, Jeff. See you tomorrow.
We'll say bon voyage to Kenny. We will not say bon voyage to you out there, though, because coming up next, we extend into overtime with Eddie Olczyk here on the show. He joins us live from Edmonton as we get back here. Sports by the Book, South Point Studio.
Sports by the Book.
Sports by the Book.
Sports by the Book.
Sports by the Book, South Point Studio.
This is the best sports betting network.
I would argue it is a total mismatch.
There's value with underdog prices in series.
I would lean to the under here.
My numbers are saying I got to bet the Tigers.
Two-way action.
When in doubt, we juice that favorite, that extra nickel.
Sports by the Book, South Point Studio.
Forget about it. The best.
South Point Casino has plenty of attractions for the whole family. Catch a movie. Our 16-screen movie theater includes 2 XD Extreme screens for the ultimate in viewing, sound, and luxury. After the show, treat the family to a variety of treats at our old-fashioned ice cream parlor, Kate's Corner. We scoop up a variety of creamy concoctions, including smoothies, hand-dipped cones, milkshakes, malts, sodas, and sundaes. At Kate's, there's something for everyone. And if you've still got time to spare, our bowling center might be right up your alley. Voted Best of Las Vegas, it's a great place for friends and family fun. 64 lanes, a pro shop, snack bar, and arcade. And while the kids are bowling, you can play slots and sip on a drink in the Alley Cat Lounge while overlooking the lanes. For our more serious and professional bowlers, the South Point is also home to a separate tournament bowling plaza.
Welcome back in Sports by the Book here on a Wednesday. Jeff Parles, Alex White alongside, and we have game 1 of the Stanley Cup Final tonight. North of the border in Edmonton, a rematch of last year. Oilers and Panthers get going tonight, and joining us, he'll be on the call for the NHL on TNT along with Kenny Albert and Brian Boucher and Darren Pang. Of course, you know his voice from all the years on NBC, on Chicago Blackhawks broadcast, and now Seattle Kraken as well. The one and only Eddie Olczyk with us right now. Eddie, good morning. Barely still morning up in Edmonton. Thanks for being with us here today.
No problem, Jeff. Alex, nice to be with both of you, and say hi to Ryan for me. And yeah, I mean, it's the excitement level up here in Edmonton is it's off the charts. It's the excitement level, the matchup, the rematch. Both these teams knowing each other extremely well. I think both teams, both sides have said, Jeff, that they feel the other team, the opponent that they're playing, is better than they were last year. So that's the compliment to management and the changes that have been made here. So I'm expecting a long series. You obviously have the best player in the world in Connor McDavid, with the Edmonton Oilers. So, I mean, he seems like he is in a zone where there's only one thing that he wants to do, and that is win the Stanley Cup. So that's obviously a scary proposition for the defending Stanley Cup champions. But for them, they're pretty loose. I had a great conversation with Matthew Tkachuk earlier this morning, and I think their team is loose. I think that they feel like they have no pressure on them. They feel like Edmonton has all the pressure on them, and we'll see how it all plays out. So game one tonight, and both these teams are coming off a few days off, which is not common in the NHL regular season, let alone in the playoffs. But I think overall, I think it'll be really good for the series, so to speak, when it comes to travel and rest and teams ready to go on each and every night. So we'll see what happens here in game one in Edmonton.
Eddie, I just want to piggyback on what you said in the middle of that when talking to both teams, like you said, they feel the opponent is better than they were a year ago. And both of us on the desk here agree with that. Where Florida, I mean, the trade for Brad Marchand, the depth has always been high-end in Florida these last few years. Edmonton, they're just deeper than they were a year ago. Just when you see a team for the Stanley Cup in the Stanley Cup final for the second consecutive year, there should be a little bit of familiarity, and there is. But how much does this being a rematch play into what this series looks like, Eddie?
I mean, every year is different. Every situation is different. You could argue that Sergei Bobrovsky's playing better in goal now than he was last year. You could argue Stuart Skinner, found his game that he found last year during a long stretch of the playoffs. And the changeover, I think with Edmonton, to me, I did not give them much of a chance in these playoffs without Matthias Ekholm, their best defenseman. He didn't play. He played in the last game in round 3 against the Dallas Stars. Like, he was out, and I thought that was going to be an absolute that was going to be a tough pothole to be able to miss. He is such a good player, and he makes other players around him better. But they found a way. I give them credit. They found a way to get the job done without their best defenseman. And they've changed their back end, bringing in a guy like John Klingberg, bringing in a guy like Jake Wallman, two guys that can beat somebody in their own zone, make a play, and get the puck up to their forwards. And I think that's where their greatest improvement has been, is that they're not defending as much because they have players to skate themselves out of trouble. And then most importantly, they're able to make the play up to their forwards or transport the puck themselves. And I think that that's where Florida's forecheck is. They haven't seen, I don't believe, a defense so far yet in these playoffs that has the ability to be able to make plays exiting out of the zone. So to catch them in between their forecheck, because that's where Florida wants to play. They want to play below the top of the circle, below the goal line, and play along the board. So I just think that both these teams are different. I think they're both better, and they're relatively healthy. Now look, at Edmonton is without Zach Hyman. Mm-hmm. I give Florida a slight edge. I know you both didn't ask me, but I give Florida a slight edge just because they've done it and they're the defending Stanley Cup champions. Losing Zach Hyman helps me think like that, because I think Zach Hyman is one of those players that touches every part of your game. And oh, by the way, he's not afraid to run people through the end boards and play that hard-nosed type of hockey that Florida likes to play. So that's not He's not going to be there. So somebody else has got to step up, whether that's Evander Kane or Corey Perry, somebody in that ilk. But I think that both of these teams know they're good and know they deserve to be here, and both have faced adversity. I mean, think about it. Think about if you're a fan of the LA Kings or the Toronto Maple Leafs. Mm-hmm. Let's start off with LA. Round one, the LA Kings had a 2-0 series lead going back to Edmonton for Game 3. They had a 4-3 lead going in to the third period of Game 3. They gave up 4 goals in that third period and lost whatever the math is, 7-4 in that Game 3. They had a lead in Game 4 in Edmonton. They turned the puck over. They end up losing Game 4, and since that point, Edmonton has not looked back. So give Edmonton credit. They were over a barrel. LA had them, and Edmonton won that series. Now, you want to say LA give it to them? I wouldn't dispute that at all. Look at Florida, round 2 against Toronto. They lost the first 2 games in Toronto. They were down 3-1 in the second period of Game 3, looking to go down 3-0 to Toronto. What did they do? They came back. They took the lead. Toronto tied it late, and then Brad Marchand, who you mentioned earlier, Jeff, scores the overtime winner. And since that point, Florida has not looked back. And where are they? So what I'm getting at is both these teams have had some major adversity, being down 2-0 in a series and being down in that Game 3, and they found a way to come back. So I think they both have great confidence regardless of what goes on from game to game, or go from period to period, let alone what happens game to game in a best of 7.
I'm glad that you already said that you were leaning towards Florida, but I want to ask you, because we keep talking about last 40 years, the third rematch. Of course, it was Gretzky got it done, and then Crosby. And you brought up that McDavid is the greatest player in the league right now. How much does this fall onto him? And is it more just it's a team game? So Florida, you feel, is the better team?
Yeah, I think, Alex, there's obviously great pressure, and Connor McDavid, obviously, I mean, just like every player. But I mean, when you've been the face of the league, not just the franchise, the face of the league for such a long time, and the expectations of being a number 1 overall pick, and you look at the numbers that he's putting up and the names that he's up there on these graphics that we'll put on TNT tonight, and just look at the players that have played, and just look at, he's going to the Hall of Fame. We all know that, and I think in order to get to that rare air, that rarefied air, you got to win. You got to find a way to get the job done, and he's got an opportunity to be able to do this. And look, I don't think it's anything outside the norm, but if Edmonton is going to win, you would have to think that Connor is going to be right in the middle of everything that they do. His 200-foot game has improved immensely in 1 year. Like, he is, I don't want to say his regular season suffered, but I think that most great offensive players, and that's what he is, and he's the greatest offensive player right now, you err on the side of offense. You err on the side of aggression. I think he has been much more selective in the regular season, and I think that he has just been unbelievable in these playoffs as well. And a guy that has probably equaled him and maybe doesn't get the hype that maybe he should is his co-pilot in Leon Draisaitl, who has just played absolutely unbelievable. And there are a lot of people that feel like Draisaitl, he's going to take over this series. So we'll see how that all plays out. But I think there's pressure, but for Edmonton, the way that they got it done has been with the depth. And then when they've needed a goal, I've said here recently that when I watch the Oilers and I watch Connor McDavid in particular, I get the same feeling when I'm watching a game as when Edmonton needs something good to happen, or a goal, or to get back in a game. It takes me to Patrick Mahomes when, and I know it didn't happen this last year, and I was happy, by the way it worked out this year, because I was on the right side of that, both the winner and the total, if you know what I'm talking about here in the Super Bowl. But I just get the sense every time Patrick Mahomes gets the ball late in the game and his team is down, they're going to win. Like, they're going to score. Like that's how awesome he is. I got that same feeling when Michael Jordan came to Chicago, and you knew when Michael was playing for all the chips in the world. And I was lucky enough to come into Chicago back in 1984. I was the 3rd overall pick for my hometown team, the Blackhawks, in the 84 draft. And this is where the comparisons end with myself and Michael. He got drafted 3rd overall by the Bulls in 1984. So that's where it ends. Let me just make that perfectly clear for all my friends back home in Chicago. And I was lucky enough to get to know MJ over the years, and just, I mean, like, for as great as a ball player as he was, and the greatest ever, that type of guy too, just to let people know. I just enjoyed always being around him over the years. But like, I got that feeling with Connor and Leon and this team, especially Connor, is that if they need a goal or they're down, somehow he's gonna will them to get that back on the board. And I think that just speaks to unbelievable greatness. It doesn't mean you're gonna win all the time, right? We saw it last year. I know he was the MVP, the Conn Smythe. He didn't win. Patrick Mahomes loses every once in a while. Michael Jordan lost every once in a while. Not when he was in the finals, because he never lost when he was in the finals. But I think you know where I'm going when it comes to kind of watching Connor McDavid and knowing that if the game's on the line, there's a pretty good chance that he's going to find a way to get the job done.
Just to piggyback on the Conn Smythe question, Eddie, because McDavid is the betting favorite right now. He's about plus 110 at most shops. You mentioned Leon Draisaitl, just shy of 10-1. But if Florida wins this for the 2nd consecutive year, I have a hard time seeing the voters doing what they did a year ago with giving it to McDavid, unless if he has just this outrageous series and he had an outrageous postseason last year, has a really good postseason this year. If it's on the Florida side, if they give it to a Panther this year with a Panther victory, is it Bob? Is it Barkov? Are we going further down the board?
I'm going Bob, and I'm probably going, because I'm just looking at the board right now with everybody else. Like, I'm a little surprised at how large of a number Carter Verhaeghe is, because he does have the ability to get you 5 or 6 in the Stanley Cup final. And, I don't want to say recency bias when it comes to voting or whatever, but he's if you look at his numbers and the game-winning goals in the playoffs and all those type of things, that's a massive. Look, I'm a horse player, as you both know, and if I see something like that, I'm sitting that would be worth a pop. Sam Bennett would be another guy. I think he's got the most goals of anybody, and I think he's had himself an outstanding playoff. So, if one of those, again, outside of Bob, because I think it's Bob's to lose if Florida wins. But I would say is that if somehow every game ends up 6-5, which it quite possibly could, and Bennett has 5 or 6, or Verhaeghe has 5 or 6, and maybe has an HT in one game, and that's a hat trick for people that might not know the hockey lingo, and has a 2-goal game or whatever. Those are the 2 names that would stick out to me on the board as far as the MVP of the playoffs, as you both mentioned a little bit earlier, not just for the Cup final. And I think that's something interesting that maybe the league should look at is maybe you do, an MVP for the Stanley Cup final, and you have a playoff MVP. Look, it could be Connor McDavid if he gets 8 and 8 and he's in the Stanley Cup final and Edmonton wins. Well, you just might as well just email him the voucher for winning the Conn Smythe again. So, but for Florida, I would say Bob, and I would not overlook Bennett or Verhaeghe, because both those guys I think have a serious chance if they can have a monster Stanley Cup final, and they're both capable of being able to do that.
I have a 2-part question here for you. Let's start with penalties and how you think these games are going to be called. I'm a little concerned with the Oilers and their penalty kill coming into this, especially when we know that the Panthers are good on the power play. So how you think that's going to be called? And if you're leaning towards another high-scoring Stanley Cup Finals or more of a low-scoring with the way Skinner's been playing and the way we were talking about Bob?
Yeah, I'd like to think there on a lot of times, I kind of have a feel of if there are going to be a lot of chances. Now, whether or not the goaltenders want to cooperate or not, and, we put some crooked numbers there after the first 20 minutes of play. I don't have a feel, because I think both these teams are very comfortable in 1-0, 2-1 type of games. But I look at the quick strike ability of both teams and go, geez, I would lean more towards, 4-3-ish type of scores than I would more 3-2 or 2-1. So that's kind of where I would probably go, Alex, on that. As far as how the referees are going to call the games, I think for the most part, it's been pretty darn good. Had they missed some calls, 100%. Had they made some unbelievable calls at the right time under, duress and pressure, 100%. So I think that all kind of evens itself out. I believe Wes McCauley and Francis Sharon, a couple of experienced guys, are going to be reffing game 1 tonight. Wes McCauley especially has been around for 1,000 years. I think they might let him play a little bit and then have a feel. I think that's the one thing, is that I think that the officials that you will see in the Stanley Cup final will have a feel for how the game is going. Look at a trip in the first minute should be a trip in the last minute, and I think both the referees in particular tonight will make those particular calls. I think there'll be a little bit more discipline than maybe people are going to think, and I think if the referees let them play, then I think that maybe you might see, I don't want to, what the heck, I'll put a number. I'll say maybe 3.5 power plays per team here tonight in game 1. So if you do the math, right, you're going to get, maybe 7 power plays. And do you see 1 or 2 out of that? Yeah, I can see 1 or 2 goals in the 7 power plays, maybe 1 for each team. So, but that, I think the series will dictate on how the referees will call the particular games and how the game and how the series is playing out over the course of the duration.
It'd be good for the over. That's all I'll say. If we get that many power play opportunities with these electric power play units. Eddie, I just want to ask you about Stuart Skinner before we venture into Belmont this week, because Skinner's first 2 starts this postseason were as bad as you can get. The 12 goals in the first 2 games against LA. He gets benched. Pickard comes in, and look, Calvin Pickard was awesome in his few starts before getting injured in Vegas. And then we've seen a totally different guy from Skinner, other than that third period in Dallas in game 1. Is it just as simple as getting the mind right? What has caused this turn for Skinner from being unplayable at the beginning of this postseason to now being, punch for punch, the best goaltender in this postseason, along with Bobrovsky?
Yeah, I think talking to Brian Boucher, who will be on the call with myself and Kenny Albert, Jackie Redmond, you mentioned Darren Pang as well, Jeff. I think the rest did him good, not only physically, but I think up here. And oh, by the way, when Calvin Pickard comes in and wins 6 games, that certainly helps ease the mind a little bit there when you are sitting out and you are the backup goaltender. And then when you come back in after the injury to Pickard and, no pun intended, but he's picked off right after Pickard got hurt. I mean, he's picked up right where he left off from the aspect of knowing that he has that game in him. And once he got on a roll, he hasn't been able to look back. So is it a question mark? Yeah, hell yes, it is. There's no doubt. But I think he realizes is that, what's the worst case scenario that's going to happen? He's going to get pulled, or he's going to get an opportunity to come back at some point. Pickard's going to come in, and maybe his number gets called. So I think it is a lot of it is psychological. But I think for me, I think it's something that will be really interesting to see how it plays out. So if we're doing the check mark game, no doubt. I mean, the check mark would be, I think the majority would give the check mark to Sergei Bobrovsky, because obviously he has done it in the way that he has played in these playoffs since early in the Toronto series. But you got to give Stuart Skinner a lot of credit. And, I think starting at home probably, I would say it helps him. I think a lot of people might think there might be more pressure playing at home, and you got the home ice and expectations. But, we'll see how it all plays out. So I think for him, he has bounced back in a brilliant way. And one guy's got 6 wins in Pickard. Skinner's got the other 6. And now, however they get to 16, that being Edmonton, that's all they're really worried about.
Eddie, before we let you go, we're required.
I got it right here.
Yeah, we're required. We're required by law to ask you about the Belmont.
Yes. Yeah,
what a field! We don't normally see a field like this when the Triple Crown is not on the line. We have Sovereignty's back after not racing in the Preakness. Baez is back as well. Journalism off his wild run in Baltimore to the Preakness win. Rodriguez after getting scratched in the Derby's back too. I mean, it's a small field, but boy, is it mighty at Saratoga for the Belmont Stakes.
Yeah, I think you got to look at weather first too, Jeff. I've been on my app periodically here the last couple of days because I am I'm in pucks mode right now. I'll be in ponies mode on Saturday. So the old pucks and ponies time of year for yours truly, it doesn't get any better. The weather doesn't look like it's going to be cooperating, so we might have a track like we had at Churchill back on May 3rd. And obviously we know what happened with Sovereignty, end up winning the Kentucky Derby over Journalism. It is a competitive field. They're only going 1.25 miles.
Yep.
Just to make people aware, they are racing this at Saratoga. There's some renovation going on, and I think it's going to be a little longer from what it sounds like. So we might even see the Belmont at Saratoga again for the 3rd time next summer, but we'll see. But it's great news that the Belmont's getting the Breeders' Cup, which is unbelievable. So they have to be done by 27 in the fall of 27. So I think that's where their marker might end up being to get the new Belmont done. I think Baeza is the wise guy horse, because I think the way that he ran in the Kentucky Derby, he ran 3rd to Sovereignty and Journalism. It was a sloppy track. He was out on the far post. He was in 19 of 19 that ran that day. He didn't have the cleanest trip. I thought he had the most momentum as they were turning for home, and he really wasn't able to run probably for the last 3/16 of a mile. So I'm leaning towards Baeza, who will be the 3rd choice. I don't think that there's any doubt. I know Rodriguez is going to get some money, but I would be surprised if Rodriguez is 3rd in the betting and then Baeza is 4th. I hope he's 4th. I mean, maybe get 5 or 6 to 1 on Baeza, because Journalism's going to get a boatload of money, rightfully so. He was my pick in the Derby. Rodriguez is going to get money because of Bob Baffert, the trainer, and Mike Smith, the legendary Hall of Famer jockey, is going to be on Rodriguez. So it is. I think there's going to be a boatload of value. And if you're not sure on the Derby winner, then I think there's a chance to make a little bit of money here. So let me rephrase that. All of my wagers in race 13 at 7:04 Eastern on Saturday, the 7th of June, will be on number 6, Baeza, and then everything else I play underneath will be with Journalism and Sovereignty and a little bit of Rodriguez as well. And I think also, if the track has come up sloppy, you might have to use number 4, Uncaged, for Todd Pletcher, another entrant for Todd Pletcher in there with Luis Saez. So I think there's lots of opportunity to make some money. But my pick on what's today? Wednesday? Are we on? Yeah, this is Wednesday. Game 1 of the Cup final, and I'm going to go with number 6, Baeza.
There we go, Baeza. We've been hearing that a lot. Dwayne likes Baeza as well. So Eddie O liking the 6 horse. Now that we know the post positions up at Saratoga for the Belmont Stakes. By the way, Eddie, we gotta let you know this. Ryan McCormick dressed for the occasion today, full on U.S. sweater, the whole ball wax today for your spot today. So he was fully prepared.
Atta boy, Rye. Love you, pal. Way to go. I've taught you well over the years. Eddie
Olczyk, everyone. You'll hear him tonight. Then the whole series and the Stanley Cup Final, NHL and TNT. Him and Kenny Albert have the play-by-play and analysis for Edmonton and
I saw
Florida.
Ryan in his little box over there
for
a split second.
Oh, we had Ryan in the box.
There he is.
There he is. Look at that.
What's up, kid? There you go.
We shred.
He knows. Hey, he knows where his butter is breaded. You know what I mean? You know that.
We shrank him down as well there, Eddie. But there we go. Eddie Olczyk, everyone. Again, you'll hear him tonight on and the whole series on the Stanley Cup Final on TNT. Eddie, thank you so much for taking some time for us today. We'll catch up again soon.
Look forward to it. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Eddie Olczyk, everyone. All right. That's what we got for you here today. If you missed the whiteboard, go back about 40 minutes. Alex and Kenny's plays for today readily available as well. Huge thanks to Eddie. I always love catching up with the best hockey, horse racing. Baeza is going to be a very popular pick this week, which I might be required to not bet it to save everyone else this week. Alex, fun show.
Yes.
You and I and Kenny are back tomorrow. Game 1 tonight. And then game 1 tomorrow in the NBA Finals with Oklahoma City and Indiana. Big thanks to the crew as always. Ryan, thank you as always for setting up the interview with our good friend Eddie O. Jerry, Vince, Remote today, Sean, Drew Dog, and thank you all as always. We're back tomorrow, 10 a.m. Sports by the Book right here, South Point Studio.